Now from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Hey.
I'm Jeff Thee. Mary Dreier's here with me from the Dickinson County Museum, and tomorrow is Turkey Day.
I can hardly wait.
You got lots to be thankful for right here at the museum.
So much. And just living in this area, I am so grateful for that.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is just, I still can't believe we live here.
Yeah.
It is so
That is
wonderful.
something to be thankful for sure. And
Yeah,
so
it is.
You got family, or you going anywhere?
You know what? We do not have, although we get to see our little 8-week-old granddaughter for a little bit, and that is, talk about being thankful.
Yeah,
Yes.
believe me.
Yeah, but
Understand.
I do believe turkey will be on the menu.
Oh, good.
Yeah, anyway.
Much to the turkey's dismay, I'm sure.
That's right. I would not want to be a turkey this time
No.
of year.
You can't wait for the Friday. Black Friday is kind of the turkey's day. Well, we are talking today about, and this is something that I could say is in recent history, although it's almost 30 years ago. But yeah, believe it or not, the flood of 1993.
Yeah.
You know, and now you weren't here at the time.
No, I didn't live here. We vacationed here every year, and this was still my favorite place in the world to come, but I was not actively involved in the flood of 93 other than by watching the TV news and reading the Des Moines Register.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying learning about this era.
Well, and you know, obviously the Lakes area was hit hard with this, but I can remember watching news report, you know, the Mississippi Valley, the Mississippi being so high, the Des Moines Register had to shut down for a few days, and they were handing out bottled water in downtown Des Moines.
What I remember is the Des Moines Waterworks
Yes.
being flooded,
Yes.
and I forget the guy's name who was in charge of it, but he was like the savior of the city of Des Moines.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember we were on a farm in Haburn County at that time, and our farmhouse was our acreage was up on a high hill, and we couldn't get to town because the road was flooded both directions for us. But that was so minor as compared to what happened around here.
Well, and I was at KUOO at the time. Our news director was Paul Koch, and I can remember because we were getting early spring floods, or early spring rains, heavy rains. And then in May, we were getting high winds, and Paul would send me out to do live remotes over my phone. Yeah, I had a cell phone at the time, one in a bag. That should be here.
Yeah, it should be.
But going up on Big Spirit and watching, because the lake level already was so high, docks going out in front of me as I was on the air.
Wow.
And then you kept thinking, okay, at some point, summer's coming, it's going to get hot, it's going to dry out, and the hits just kept coming. And so, and it was an interesting time to be on the radio. Like I remember doing live reports over at the maintenance shed every time sandbags would come in, and people come in with their shovels and grabbing bags from the U.S. Corps of Engineers, filling what they could, and taking them home to try to protect something. You couldn't do anything about the water table, but if you lived, and I did on the lake at the time, you did what you could when waves would come up from not eroding away from your property or underneath your house.
Did you sandbag your house?
We actually built, I called it the Great Wall of East Okoboji. We got some big sheets of plywood and got some beams and put it in front of my house and pounded those to the beams, so when the water did come up, and you know, they had the no wake rule on the lake eventually after the 4th of July, but if you got a wind out of the south, here came the waves and everything would erode out. So at least my structure underneath my home wouldn't get eaten away. So it was and then finally Labor Day, things started drying up again. But that was after they had done the outlet on South Gar. So it was interesting, and so you had a talk here this morning. Let's do this very impromptu. Sue?
Hey, Sue, come here.
Come over here and stand by Mary, if you would.
Here we go.
Introduce your friend here.
This is my great friend and partner in crime, Sue Haburn. She works at the museum. I'm so grateful that she's here. We have a lot of fun here together.
Yes, we do.
Sue has a special story that probably no one else can tell about the flood of '93.
It's very interesting. My husband worked for the DOT, and of course was working many, many hours, and he goes to his boss on a Tuesday night and says, I need to leave at 5. Well, these guys were working like all these crazy hours, and the guy, you can't leave, and he says, but I have to go at 5 o'clock. Well, the reason was that we were meeting at the church at 6, and we are in the paper, July 8th, 93.
Oh my goodness, there you are.
And on the other side, it's water everywhere.
Yeah, 2 big stories that week.
Yeah, it was.
So
So needless to say, no honeymoon.
I was just going to ask, how was the honeymoon?
Yeah, that was fun. He had to go back to work, and it was a crazy time. We did not see much of each other for probably 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they were always out working
Yeah.
constantly. So
Yeah, it was a
took a
constant
long
struggle.
time. And then not only the flood, but the cleanup after the flood
Yes.
took a lot of time as
Oh,
well.
tremendous.
So, yeah.
Can you tell us some of the stuff that the DOT did, what Lyle did during this time?
He was a mechanic, but he got into doing just about everything. I mean, they needed all hands on deck.
Yeah.
They were bringing in sand from different locations, rock to fill in places. They had part of the road on the west side of Big Spirit that had crumbled away,
Yeah.
and so they needed to fill that with rock. And know how many loads they brought in. It was still water, and they bring in another load and still water.
And do you remember when they'd bring that sand in? Those that didn't last very long. There'd
No.
be people shovel ready.
Oh, it was crazy.
You know.
And just like they said, they had it actually in the Fairway parking lot for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
And the local police actually had to man that because people were upset.
Yeah.
So then they moved it out to the DOT location.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. Even getting sandbags, enough sandbags, they had to go other places to find those.
Yeah.
But the man in charge was Captain Rogers of the National Guard. And when he talked, you listened.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Thank goodness we had those people at that
Yes,
time.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Exactly.
yes, indeed. So, yeah, it's just an interesting, like I was saying to Mary, it's more of our recent history because so many more of us remember
Right.
that spring and summer. And then, the aftermath. I remember we had a radiothon on KUOO to raise money for restoration. Because so many people's shoreline,
Oh, yeah.
Beautifully landscaped, all gone.
All gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Templar Park area, a lot of those homes were lost everything in front of their house.
Yeah.
They had nothing left there, so a lot of them just filled in with all rock, and that's the way it stayed ever since.
Yeah.
And a lot of the resorts, how they got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
And so it wasn't just up here. There was flooding in other places, but I don't think not as drastic as that stretch there on Big Spirit.
Another thing I remember is you talked about on Big Spirit, road closures where that gets so low there in front of the Art Center. Mm-hmm. That was, lanes were closed there. And then, because I lived and that's how I came into work at KUOO, what's now Sunner Avenue going past the YMCA was gravel at that time.
Yes.
And I took that to get north into Spirit Lake and out to the radio station.
Yep. Yeah, oh, I know, it was crazy.
Yeah.
My husband would work the roadblock, and people would, road closed, they'd pull around him and go through and then get stuck. It's like, can you not read? It's a road closed. But no. Mm-mm.
And I do have a funny Elvis impersonation story from that.
You're good at that.
Well, Parks Marina was having, I think it was their 10th anniversary open house. And Butch had hired me to have me come in on a big boat like Elvis would come in on a big boat. And come up to the dock and then walk up the dock boldly to sing some songs. The boat getting to the dock was fine. It was in these white shiny boots. And you remember docks were floating then. They weren't positioned. And water was, so I was walking up like, I thought I can either take my time or it's going to be the wettest Elvis show ever.
I hope you have a video of that.
Nope.
That you can play in here.
Nope.
You didn't sing Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Wrong dead artist. So anyway, and this morning, as we're taping here before Thanksgiving, but you had a great talk here this morning during your Wednesday morning talks.
We heard so many good stories about the travails, but also how people came together. We heard one story in particular about someone who lived at North Templar Park, and she really emphasized how, as horrible as the flood era was, that it really brought her neighborhood together. And they remain together to this day. They started doing dinners together, and it was really brought about a sense of camaraderie, and they worked together. They helped each other out, and that exists yet today.
Yeah, and people did. They would get together if someone needed sandbagging in front of their home, the neighbors, friends, whatever, and boy, they'd fill those bags out of the back of the pickup and stack them up, and it's kind of what is so magical about this area is when there's trouble, people come together.
And then you have the funny stories. We heard about a guy who would pull a water skier on the south shore of Big Spirit Lake, pull a water skier with his car in the water. During this, can you imagine seeing a water skier go down the street?
We saw a lot. We had our normal 4th of July. We always used to we had a big KUOO trailer, looked like a radio out on a barge on the 4th of July, and we'd throw Pepsi to boatists. And just before then, we had gotten, Frankie Valli had played at the Pavilion, and we had to move him inside because, again, and we got I want to say 4 or 5 inches again that night, and that was the one that put us over and all of a sudden there was no wake on the lakes. And we're on the barge and playing music, and probably some dumb kid who's probably in his 50s now like me, but takes off, had just gotten through the bridge and took off full speed. Well, here come two DNR boats right on him, and we're all But it was just those memories out of the summer that are the strongest.
We heard a story from another guy this morning who went to Arnold's Park to see the fireworks. They still had the fireworks during this time, and they had to wade in up almost to their knees to see the fireworks in front of where the shop, in front of where Godfather's used to be.
Yep. Yeah, it was all way up there to the Queen's Court, in places and so forth. And then I can remember we had the big, things started to recede at the end of the summer, we had the Beach Boys come in.
That's right.
Yeah, and they played over at what was then Great Lakes GM and Motor Inn. There was a big lot in between there and had a stage. And the Beach Boys, I was emceeing, and they were 2.5 hours late.
That's a lot of chit-chat.
Maybe they were surfing on the lake.
They had a real surfing safari. But then we had Dion opened up for them, and it was but that was kind of like the highlight of the summer. Then it was okay, we've gotten through this. Here's the Beach Boys, and we're gonna.
It's fabulous that they came.
Yeah. So it was a good show. I just wish they'd been on time, because I had kept going out on stage and saying the Beach Boys are running a little behind, and you can see these eyes glaring.
And you didn't break out Elvis.
No, I did not.
You could have.
They'd have broken down Elvis. But anyway, it's as everything. You've got good memories, you've got harder memories, and we got through it.
We got through it.
I know, and people know, of course, the terrible drought we have.
Yes.
It's oh man, we need rain. I'm going, please.
And Sue, if you remember just a couple years before that, 88, 89, the lake was
really low.
Really low. When you'd go through the Narrows, you'd have to look over the sides of the boat, make sure you didn't hit rocks. I mean, we're getting close.
Huge beach.
Yes, big beaches. And I can remember them saying, we'd have to have years of rain before
anything
to fill this thing up one summer.
Yep.
So anyway, well, thanks for talking to me about the summer of the flood of '93, and you've got one of the books there.
Yeah, this is
High Water.
A great book put together by Smitty Skudeman. Lots of fabulous photos.
Yeah,
if you want to remember the days in this. Another great resource is available on YouTube, and that is the video called Sandbag Summer, put out by KICD, I believe.
Yeah.
enjoyed watching that a few nights ago.
It brings
just
back
go to YouTube and search for Flood of '93 Okoboji, and you'll find it.
Well, like many of the things in here, you think you remember accurately till you see a picture or something. Oh, okay, it was not quite what I remembered, but I was close, and so.
Exactly.
That's the fun of history, guys. I'm just here to tell you. Well, you guys have a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You too.
Oh, Will as well. Time with granddaughters. Rocking that, baby.
Me too.
All right, we want to thank Mary and Sue for being here with us today. Again, have a very happy, safe travels with your Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time right here on Okoboji Broadcast.
Bye.
Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by the Scott Troutman State Farm Agency in Spirit Lake, Quest Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. Ducky's Marine and Motorsports Repair in Spirit Lake. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Ruthven Locker at the Lake, where carnivores are welcome on Hill Avenue in Spirit Lake. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.